But we, in fact, have triple Stargate Phoenix against Reynor in our second game. And I don't remember the last time I saw triple Stargate Phoenix. This is cool. And the upper left in the blue, he's going for 15-15 in game one. It's Reynor. And the bottom right in the red, he's the player that we all want to see offline, but for now, just having to enjoy in these big online tournaments. It's MaxPax. So where are we going here? MaxPax is a player that plays a pretty standard, at least at the baseline level, plays a pretty standard ZvP. He'll go Stargate play pretty often. He'll turn that into Blink Stalkers behind that. He likes Sky Toss sometimes, but when I think about MaxPax, I say, you know, he's an idiosyncratic PvP player. That's his matchup. That's what he does. That's what he's made his name on. And MaxPax build in TVP or in PvT, which we haven't actually seen him do in quite a while to my memory. But in the other matchups, he's good is what it is. I wouldn't say there's anything particularly interesting is not a fair word, but anything particularly out of the ordinary that he goes for. I think for the most part, I think it's pretty fair to say that he does the stuff well and he does it right. And maybe if there's anything, he'll go and he'll throw a glaive build in more often than, say, a Showtime or a Hero or something. And that's the thing that we can talk about and say, yeah, if we're looking at MaxPax, this is kind of what he does, just a little bit differently. So for now, that's going to be what it is. Reynor sees that we're 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. There's no warp gate on the way. It's 2:21 now, so he should know that there's a Stargate on the way. That's the timing that you have just ingrained in your head as a Zerg player. No cyber or no warp gate before 2:15. It's 99% of the time it's going to be Stargate. Sometimes it's warp gate into Stargate, and that's weird. We saw Trap experimenting with that for a while a couple years ago, and very rarely we see it now. But in general, not a ton, right? This is very standard play, and Reynor should, for the most part, expect what he's going to expect. The interesting thing, more than anything, is that MaxPax has only built a single Adept in this game. He's got a Stalker on the way now, eventually, but he's only built a single Adept. We're not seeing that early pressure that he might go for. You know, you run 2 Adepts across the map, you try to dive them into a mineral line and do something with that. He's not going for that this time. He's just, again, playing a very standard game of StarCraft, which in a game one, in a qualification game, but not an elimination game, that's a pretty good thing to do. That's a really solid way to play. You're just feeling your opponent out. How well is Reynor playing today? What does Reynor want to do today? And how do you want to counter it? How do you want to respond to it? These are all really important questions. And by playing Oracle into Blink, which is, I think, exactly what MaxPax is going to do, by opening like that, you can feel him out. You can figure out exactly what it is that Reynor, how Reynor's feeling, how he's playing, and then you adapt. And game 2, maybe you throw something different at the wall, and maybe it sticks. I don't know. For now, though, double Oracle, and MaxPax triggers the Pulsar Beam a little early to knock a Creep Tumor down. But I think that in part this is because he didn't send the first Oracle across, spending so long to kill that Overlord, which means that by now there are Queens in every mineral line. There are spores where they need to be. The Oracles don't represent as much damage potential as they might otherwise have, although they still have a decent amount of HP, and this Queen is exposed. There we go, MaxPax. That's what you're looking for. Knocking a Queen down like that is beautiful. That means there's less injects now. That means there's less creep spread now. That means that there's less anti-air now a little bit. All of these things are really important as a Protoss player as you forge your way into the mid game. And for now, Twilight Council, most of the way done. Forge on the way, third base, just actually now done. So MaxPax, he's got everything he wants again as he gets ready into this game. But it gets even more fun because now he's got 3 oracles, he's got 3 adepts, and with that pairing together, that's a lot of dead lings, maybe that's a lot of dead drones, a lot of damage potential if he's able to pull it off. And for now, lings pop out just in the nick of time, and Reynor, oh, he's got the block coming down as well. So really, not a lot of damage here. Not a single drone goes down. Well handled by Reynor. It's now the oracle returns home. It's gonna eat a lot of queen shots. Won't go down, but still tremendous damage. That was a full health oracle. They're worth having a full health oracle is worth a lot in a game. It means you can dive in and maybe kill something you wouldn't otherwise do. You can maybe get a queen that's fighting back. You can stick on a spore a little bit longer. These are all really useful things to do, and by taking half damage on it, this oracle it's gotta change the way it plays a little bit, play a little safer. So now with MaxPax, he's got his 4th base going. And the nice thing about this is his 4th base is timed out. It's not quite as fast as Reynor's 4th, but it's pretty much on the same timing. It's really, so the economy of MaxPax going like gangbusters here. And he's got Blink done in about 10 seconds. He's on the map right now. But the cool thing about what Reynor's doing is he's realized exactly what MaxPax is going for. And that's a lot of +1 lings. It's a lot of banelings that are going to morph in. And yeah, the +2 banes, no longer one-shot probes. 6 banes will still one-shot a probe. There's still a lot of damage potential in the mineral line. So MaxPax has to be careful here. He doesn't have a wall. He's not playing like Firefly did against Reynor yesterday, which Firefly did lose. I was very sad as a big Firefly fan. Firefly did lose. But Firefly was doing the crazy thing where he was just walling off everything. Walling off his 3rd base, walling off 1 entry kind of into the natural area and making it so there was only 1 spot to attack. It was like looking into the past, a year and a half, and how Reynor used to be playing with this ling run by. Maybe it's going to get something done. Oh, okay, 11 drones will fall, or 11 probes will fall, but that's actually felt like it could have been worse. But it does force a full recall as well. And again, these are just lings. Yes, that's a lot of them, but it's just lings at the end of the day that really get targeted down. And MaxPax, he's changing his mind a little. Well, I don't know that he's changing his mind, because this is a Rebel Bay was done. He's getting Colossus, and that does take some investment. But he is going to have to sit back for a little bit. Stalkers against heavily upgraded lings don't do all that well, and you don't really enjoy this Colossus tech until you're at like 4 Colossus and extended thermal lance, and probably +2 and everything else. So MaxPax, as active as he would like to be on the map, is going to have to be defensive for a little bit. He's going to have to sit back in his core 4 that he's got and make sure that Reynor doesn't get any more damage done, and do as well as he can to keep the creep spread back, as this is a dead stalker. But there are stasis traps behind this, so I'm not particularly worried for MaxPax. In fact, he's holding the ramp really nicely, so it's just dead lings. But as we look to the future, the question we're asking ourselves is, say in 3 minutes, is this Link Stalker Colossus timing, is it going to work? And I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. Vipers are already just about done. They're gonna have energy. They're gonna be able to abduct the Colossus by the time this pressure happens. And yeah, MaxPax is moving on the map right now, trying to take advantage of the timing he has before Reynor has the response, because he knows Reynor has seen the Colossus at this point. And maybe, just maybe, he can use this as well to get a bunch of zealots in the main base, a bunch of charge lots in the main base. The MaxPax, well, this is a nice run by, actually. There's not a lot in the main base right now. MaxPax, this is a decent opportunity, but he's not actually gonna commit to it. I thought we might see him go and attack in the main base and attack the 4th or the 5th base at the same time and really trying to split Reynor apart, but he's not willing to do so. He says his tech isn't there yet. He's not quite properly situated. So the warp in bought some time. Yeah, it did. And nice abduct there. Oh, okay. MaxPax isn't even pulling it away, so the warp prism will fall. It bought him some time, but the Vipers are still a problem. And we don't have a Templar Archives is halfway done. Eventually, that's gonna be your feedbacks. That's gonna be your Viper counter, but it wasn't ready for this attack. There's no MaxPax again. Tries to find his way forward here, but the army of Reynor feels kind of overwhelming at this point, even with some really nice stasis traps, even with the Colossus here and the Vipers not getting the abduction they need. It just feels really hard for MaxPax to exist on the map, and he's building more Colossus. This is honestly, the fact that he's building more Colossus is a bit of a surprise to me, actually, because Vipers are out. Hive is clearly done. This army that MaxPax has, Colossus are, I mean, you get to 4 Colossus, you get Storm, you get Archons, you get some Disruptors in there. It is possible as the Protoss player to build an army that Zerg ground actually cannot fight. In fact, that's the reason that for a lot of ZvPs, we see Zerg players in the late game, they go into Sky Zerg because they can't beat, say, 4 Colossus and like 8 Archons and a bunch of High Templars and some Disruptors and maybe some Zealots or something to buffer. But really, it's all about those tech units, and actually not even Zealots. You get Immortals to buffer. That does a much better job. If MaxPax can build that army, if he can get to that level of tech, then yeah, he's gonna be solid. But the problem is that we're gonna have Ultras on the map pretty quickly, and Stalkers, they fight Ultras well enough, but not really. And Archons fight Ultras well enough, but not incredibly well, not without the Immortals. And I'll tell you what doesn't fight Ultras very well. Colossus don't fight Ultras very well. Zealots don't fight Ultras very well. High Templar don't fight Ultras really well. Storm doesn't do much for that. It's really a lot of the tech that MaxPax has invested to over the last couple minutes doesn't deal with the army that Reynor is building. And that's a problem. So MaxPax, he's going to make his transition now. He's got 2 more Stargates on the way, +1 air on the way, Fleet Beacon on the way. Really just, again, developing his tech a little bit further, because this army that he has right now is solid against everything but the Ultras. Those Ultras, they represent a significant problem. Although, of course, Ultras, they can't shoot up, which is why you move into the late game. Similar idea, although, oh, that's a nice Storm. And nice kiting back here coming out of MaxPax. I was going to say, although building a lot of Immortals can also be a really good idea, but that is much more of a timer once, say, Infestors pop out in enough numbers or a Broodlord push happens at all. The Immortals are not useful. So MaxPax doesn't want to put himself on a timer like that, because if you build 8 Immortals, yeah, it'll shred this army. It will annihilate this army that Reynor has. But if Reynor is able to get to his transition fast enough, not really. Things just die. The entire Protoss army falls apart in the blink of it. Well, maybe not a blink of an eye, because Broodlords don't do as much damage as they used to, but pretty quickly the Protoss army falls apart. And then you're just a very, very sad Zerg, a very, very sad Protoss player who has a lot of useless money, and the best you can do is you can turn them into bricks for children to play with. Although that might just be the Zimbabwean dollar. Anyways, Reynor pushing down the ramp once again, but the Storms will zone him for now. And as we can see, this is +2 armor Ultras. They're not +4. They have chitinous, but they don't have +3. And Stalkers actually handle that pretty nicely. They do a lot of damage to these Ultras as abduct down on the Immortal. But hey, good feedbacks and really nice play as well to make sure the Banelings don't get damage as well. So MaxPax is starting to develop that army. He's got his mothership just about done. He's got 3 carriers on the way, 1, 2, 3 at a time. He's got +2. And he's eventually going to be able to build this army that he might be able to make a death push happen. This army from Reynor, it's got decent Ling numbers. His +3 melee is really strong, especially when we include Adrenal on top of it. But this army that Reynor has is not a really good front-to-back fighting army. So if MaxPax can get his army together on like the +2 carrier timing with, well, +3 ground and +1 shields and say 6 carriers or something, he can shove across the map and he can shove right up the gullet of Reynor, and that's the timing he's looking for, I think. Oh, nice. Well, actually, this isn't going to do a ton, but there's so much static defense that MaxPax has available to himself right now that Reynor's trying to throw these roaches away. He doesn't. They're not particularly useful to him, so he wants to gain some cost-effective value in some way, shape, or form. But these the cannons MVP cannons and the shield battery overcharge means that, yeah, these roaches, they're getting thrown away, yeah, but they didn't find any value. They didn't, I mean, I guess an overcharge is something. If Reynor decides to attack right now, maybe. But otherwise, it's really, they didn't do all that much. So MaxPax solidly on 5 bases. Right now, the bottom left base seems takeable, or the upper right base seems takeable. And unlike in a ZvT, which is interesting, by the way, because the ZvT is generally a more mobile matchup, it feels really hard to take a base from a Protoss player because Zealot warp-ins and run-bys and things. It just feels like it's a little bit harder for Reynor to say, maybe take the bottom left base or take the middle right base or something. And that means that theoretically MaxPax should be able to take every single base on the map eventually, if we do kind of slow roll this. Not easy, certainly. The army of Reynor can still be very strong as he's now building Broodlords and trying to leapfrog the tech. But we got 3 carriers. We got a mothership. But we're going to start to see some of the ultras take damage. I mean, still carriers versus ultras. That doesn't kill them very quickly. But it's late game like this is always pretty cool because it's about different timings. So for right now, MaxPax has a really powerful timing. He's gonna have +3 ground armor soon, +3 air attack, shields are done, and he's gonna have this really powerful ground and air army. That is a nice thing. And MaxPax, theoretically, if he has his druthers, he's gonna be able to make something happen with that. Knock a base down, trade really well, take a really good fight, whatever it is. But eventually, Reynor's going to have his timings. He's going to have 3-3-3-3. He's going to have 3-3 ground upgrades. He's going to have 3-3 air upgrades. He's going to have this incredible spellcaster army, where that becomes really difficult for the Zerg or for the Protoss player to fight into, as these ultras going for a run by. But Stag Defense is your friend, and the cannon count on the right side says that push isn't going to happen either. And look at what MaxPax is doing. He's got his mothership on the bottom left side. He's getting ready. He wants to go send this up into the main base, I think, up into the natural to a really big tech snipe, and then maybe recall his army back home. I don't know. But because Reynor's attacking, MaxPax is not willing to make this happen just yet. He doesn't want to show the mothership until it's properly ready. Nice feedbacks is there. One abduct, but it's not going to really kill this Colossus actually at all. And yeah, the stasis traps are kind of useless at this point. By the way, did you know that a mothership 2-shots drones? Because a mothership does 2-shot drones, and I bet you didn't know that one. But now recall into the main base, maybe recall. MaxPax, where's your army? You're gonna, nope, it's -300, -300. Yeah, I liked the idea, but Reynor was too on top of it, and that didn't happen. But at this point, there's so much money for both players, and Reynor is gonna struggle until he really locks it down. This right side base is gonna be a struggle to take because of a similar reason that it's kind of hard for Reynor to fully deny MaxPax's next bases, because Zealots are really solid in small numbers, and it does require more Zerg units to properly use them. So upper right side base will get dealt with, and now that's gonna be a dead ultra too. Very nice. Stalkers blink forward. Second dead ultra. Maybe. Carriers do nothing to this, but no, they're gonna kill the Ravagers instead. This is a nice fight for MaxPax to start, but he needs to make sure he doesn't lose the Oracles. They're by far the most important thing in this army. Nice feedbacks again. Vipers, final one gets feedback. One carrier is gonna get abducted here as MaxPax takes the kiting fight away, continues to try to knock these ultras down, but it's gonna have to be a full recall. So much of this army dies. So much of this army falls out of the sky, gets shut out of the ground. MaxPax, it felt like a good fight for the start, but he ran out of space to kite, and the moment he did that, those ultras, he didn't have enough immortals. He didn't have enough anything that really kills ultras. Carriers tickle. Colossus, they tickle. So MaxPax forced back pretty significantly. Resources lost. He's down 4,000 resources against a Zerg player that has had the map. And that's a problem. That's something that does need to get solved. That right side base again is not going to be able to get taken. And MaxPax just lost 25 probes. All of a sudden, it feels like this game is rapidly swinging in the favor of our Zerg player. MaxPax still has a bank. He does, but he's not mining a lot anymore. And this bank, 5,500, 3,000, is solid. But it does need, it's not even a full remax. It's almost a full remax. But if you look at army value, MaxPax's army is worth more than he has in the bank. So he can try to trade as well as he can. And Void Rays are kind of an interesting decision. Because while they can do really well against the Broods and they can do really, really well against the Corruptors, they absolutely melt to any Zerg spellcasters. So that's always a little bit dicey if you go for that one. Is at MaxPax, he needs to keep this base alive, but losing static defense doesn't feel good whatsoever. And more importantly, I think we see MaxPax, he's got to wait until he's got Flux Veins. He's got to wait until his Void Rays are just a little bit faster or more maneuverable so they can split, so they can dodge, so they can run away. And in the meantime, Reynor is slowly poking MaxPax out of the map. Again, MaxPax has a bank, but it is rapidly diminishing. It's not diminishing for for Reynor at all. And now this middle base, this fourth base, is going to get shut down. So MaxPax saying, okay, that's fine. You know, I can't fight your sieged up position, but maybe I can attack into you. Maybe I can do something like that. Now we're going to see Ultras start to fall down just a little bit, but this is so many spores. And while they probably won't die, or they probably won't kill much, they are slowing this push down significantly, which means MaxPax loses the fourth base, which means MaxPax, he's long distance mining with his probes on the bottom left, but there's already a hatch there. He needs to send something over to clear that up, and he needs everything for this push. This is his fight right now. Come hell or high water, he doesn't have enough money for a remax. He's got a mothership. He has this potential. Ultras coming in from behind. Storms are going to get dropped on this. And the High Templar, one of them, they're all gone. No High Templar in the army right now, at least not that I can see. And really, yeah, none in this army. So no more Storms anymore. But the carriers, the interceptors, they're all out. They're still fighting for now. Pair bomb gets dropped, but it's only on the single carrier for now. Now we're going to see the cloak go down. Now we're going to see MaxPax trying to take this fight, but the mothership's dead instantly. And this corruptor count doesn't even really need to go. It does not need to win the game here. It just needs to do enough that the remax of the 20 corruptors that are on the way from Reynor, they're going to do it. In fact, these corruptors, this army, it seems like Reynor doesn't even need the remax. Not at all. MaxPax slowly died. And Reynor, he did enough. He traded well enough. He controlled the map well enough. And Reynor takes game one. And the upper left in the blue up one, outlasting, out-trading, out-map controlling his opponent. It's Reynor. And of course, in the bottom right, in the red, representing Psystorm, probably the best Protoss of the WTL this year, actually. And certainly the reason that Psystorm had as deep as a run as they did, well, his name is MaxPax. And in game one, we saw MaxPax go, and he didn't get a ton of damage done with his oracles. And actually, I'm sorry, we got to do the important thing. If you have enjoyed this thus far and you want to see more StarCraft, more Serral, more Reynor, more MaxPax, more Maru, more Dark and Cure, and all of these fantastic players 7 days of the week, Monday through Sunday, Stormgate cast as embargoes start to lift a little bit and I can do more of that, you should hit the sub button to this channel, because every single day of the week there's going to be an awesome game, or at least something really cool is going to happen. So like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss them as they go live on 2 p.m. Eastern every single day, and follow my Twitch channel as well, because that's where I stream these live, and you can kind of hang out and tell me why I'm wrong about whatever I say about the video game. It's a good time. But MaxPax, I think we're going to see something similar from him once again. As much as he is one of the few players that does like adept play, and there's the Stargate on the way, as much as he's one of these few players that does actually really like Stargate play, or just like adept play, this is not the map for it. This is really not. It's long. It's just long. I guess the third base is a little bit further away from the natural, so that can be something that you can mess around with, but in general, it's not the map. There are better things to do. There are better ways to play the game of StarCraft than to go for 4K glaives and try to win the game on that. You can go for 6K glaives. That'd be cool. It's a moot point though, because there's a Stargate. There's a Stargate just about done, and we're gonna see an Oracle get started immediately. There we go. So like, as much as I can theory craft about other ways to play the video game, at the end of the day, we know what's happening here. It's gonna be not an Oracle after all. MaxPax, he got the Oracle, he got it started, and he changed his mind. I think What has he scouted on the map? Nothing. He hasn't. I was gonna say, I think maybe because it's gonna be two overlords exposed, and if you can get 2 overlords with a void, that's actually really good. That's kind of what you're looking for. That's the goal of going for that. But I don't think that's what we're gonna see here. So the first void ray is gonna go down, but that should trigger MaxPax or trigger Reynor to immediately pull the rest of his void or his overlords right back home, which is exactly what he's doing. He knows how this build works, and it got a ling. That's something. Now there is a weird build. There is a weird. Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say there's a weird build that we've seen. Was it MaxPax actually? No. Trigger did it. That apparently Hoopsaya made a YouTube video about a week and a half ago at this point, where you open Void Ray Stargate, and then you go 6-gate glaives, and it's kind of a new iteration on the stats oracle into glaives timing that he used to do before he went to military, but it's just a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more modern. But we in fact have triple Stargate Phoenix against Reynor in our second game, and I don't remember the last time I saw triple Stargate Phoenix. This is cool. There's a very real world, by the way, where MaxPax or where Reynor just kind of Niduses him and kills him with Roach Queen. But if he doesn't, this is really cool. It's one of those things where double Stargate Phoenix is something we would see on occasion. And generally the rule of thumb says you get 2 spores per base, you build a lot of drones, you sustain whatever damage you're taking, and it's going to be okay for the most part. And again, the rule of thumb says, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to build as many spores per base as there are Stargates. But building 3 spores per base feels really weird. And if it's triple Stargate Phoenix, you really do need to go and commit to the response. You need to commit to, honestly, even Hydras. Hydras in good numbers are solid, but otherwise, Hydras are not incredible. Otherwise, they really do, unless they're in significant numbers, they get picked up and killed. Hydras are light units, so Phoenix do bonus damage against them, and they kind of kill everything. Now the Phoenix are on the map, and the interesting thing, MaxPax is not really pooling a ton of these. He's gone out with 5, and that's not enough to kill one of these queens, by the way. But deny this base. Hey, there we go. There's your first casualty. But I do think it's really interesting that MaxPax, he went triple Stargate Phoenix, and it's kind of stopped at 8 for the moment. There he's building more. But generally, when you go Phoenix play like this, you want to pool them as long as possible because the first reveal is by far the most powerful. So if he could reveal with like 20 Phoenix, that'd be great. That would be so much. I at that point though, you wouldn't get the damage done to really make it worthwhile. Even still, the queens are going to get lifted here, and 1 Phoenix is dead, and it's only for a single queen. It's only for 3 drones. This is not nearly enough for MaxPax at this point. And yeah, there we go. Nidus goes down. Roaches and queens on the way. This is what I said. There's a very realistic possibility that Reynor just kills MaxPax for doing this if he doesn't get the damage done, if he doesn't keep things back at home, if the scouting's not good enough. And MaxPax is aware of this, so he's got triple Stargate Phoenix, and now he's got double Robo on the way. So if he can get into like Phoenix Immortal, a bunch of Immortals, a bunch of Phoenixes, that could be real. Oh, okay. That could be really strong. But he's adding in Void Rays into the mix. And I think this is just really smart. He saw the number of queens. He saw the number of roaches. I don't think he saw the Nidus, but he found the Nidus anyways. So he's aware of what's happening here. He knows what his opponent's doing, but there's a big difference. There's a significant gap between knowing what Reynor's doing and actually defending against it. So for now, the queens, they're going to get lifted as they popped out. How many go down? It's going to be the first dead queen. Second one. Now the transfuses are coming out, but the queens are starting to die here as they pop. MaxPax does such a good job of getting on top of it. But even still, that's a lot of queens. That's a lot of roaches. Zealots have been made, but they don't have charge. How many queens died? That was 3 queens off the top. We're looking at 12 on the map right now. More Void Rays on the way. Charge getting started. +1's done soon. Immortals getting pumped out as much as you can. There's a MaxPax can hold this, but it is hard. That is a ton of Ravagers. So even lifts The Phoenix lifts aren't going to be all that useful. It's hard to micro against the Biles with the Void Ray because once you turn on Prismatic Alignment, they are incredibly slow, and you want to turn it on because it's more, well, more damage against the Roaches, not against the Ravagers, not against the Queens, so at least there's that. But MaxPax probably needs about 160 or 170 supply to really feel comfortable in this defense. Before then, it feels like it's kind of piecemeal hodgepodge units, so he's got 3 Immortals here. He's adding in more Void Rays. Charge is about halfway done. Ground attacks on the way. He's building his way up there. But he needs more time. He needs more static defense. And Reynor behind this, he's 100% committed to this. Oh, I love this as well. Drones went through the Nidus. They dropped spores down, so it's really hard for MaxPax to go in and snipe reinforcements. And here comes the army. Okay, here comes Reynor. This army is just so clunky, but it's also insanely powerful as Ravagers are going to get lifted. But Queens can shoot those down. They can transfuse. The creep is pushed far forward enough, and MaxPax didn't get to where he needed to be. I don't think he can really hold this easily. He's going to try, certainly, and Immortals are a strong fire base, but there's so much HP in this army. There's so much healing in this army that even as MaxPax is trying to kill things, they're just not dying. The supply of Reynor isn't really going down all that much. Although that being said, the army at the front line, Immortals are starting to be in further numbers. They're starting to whittle away at this army, and the Ravager count has been significantly decreased. And once the Ravagers are gone, lifts are far more impactful because the Queens don't kill the Phoenix all that quickly. It's the Biles that make you cancel the lifts. So MaxPax, it's funny. I look at the game state and say, well, MaxPax held on. He didn't die to the push. But then you look at everything else. You say, well, Reynor's, he's all in on this, but he's at 173 supply. MaxPax's army supply is really hurting. He's building Stalkers, but they don't have Blink. He's got Charge, but Charge is not the best thing against this. He's building Immortals, but despite having double Robo, he's only building them 1 at a time. He's only got 3 on the map right now. So, yeah, he held on for the moment, but this next wave of Zerg feels really... This one feels like the one that's going to finally do it. The Queens, more of them have been added in. Roach is now getting on top of the static defense. Biles are going to get dropped on the last shield battery. And finally, might take a little bit longer, but MaxPax, he's going to get shoved off this third base. He's going to get broken down. And this means that Reynor is destined at this point to qualify into the playoffs to join Serral and Maru in Hero. And that is and Clem, excuse me. And that is an August. As an August company that you're going to find yourselves in. Of course, there are still more. 3 more players are going to qualify after this series to fill out our round of 8. They're going to qualify in through round 5. They're going to be the lowest of seeds. So, Reynor, I don't exactly know what his map score is right now, but he's going to hopefully buy himself an upper 50% seed. So for now, Reynor, he moves on to the playoffs. MaxPax, he's going to have to fight for tomorrow to make the playoffs. That's never easy.